Hello and welcome back to another episode of the FPL Stats Show. We are now looking ahead to Game Week 4, which is proven to be a very important week this week, just after the international break, and we are seeing a lot of chips being activated, myself included. I am going to be playing the wildcard chip, and my team selection will be out in just a couple of days. But with these videos, I don't want to take too much time. There is a lot to go over. As always, if you do want to, have a look at the stats for yourself that are used in this video, make sure to use the link in the description to sign up for Fantasy Football Hub, where we do get the majority of our stats for these videos. So let's jump straight into things. So starting off with our fixture list for this weekend, we have Saturday and Sunday games this weekend, and a couple of changes have happened for one team more specifically, in Nottingham Forest. They obviously sacked Nuno Espirito Santo, and we are now going to see Ange Postecoglou take charge of Nottingham Forest starting this weekend as well, which could be very interesting for anyone that does own Arsenal players, which we will take a little bit of a further look into as we jump into the video, but it could be a very nice opportunity for some Arsenal attackers. We've got a very prominent fixture in there as well with Crystal Palace v Sunderland. I think Crystal Palace assets are starting to be brought in quite a bit this week. They do have a nice run of fixtures over the next few, especially if we are going to be free hitting in game week 6. Liverpool are playing against Burnley on Sunday. Again, a fantastic opportunity for Liverpool assets: Van Dijk, Salah, Ekitike, Wirtz, and obviously the new signing Alexander Isak as well, who will, I think, potentially be on the bench. I think it is going to be a couple of weeks before we do look into him. We've also got Manchester City versus Man United as well. Man United haven't actually been as bad as they were last season, but that is again something that we will take a look into as we get further into the video. Looking at some of the popular transfers in and out for this week then, we have Jack Grealish at the time of recording this has over 850,000 transfers in this week, which is absolutely crazy considering it is Jack Grealish. We never would have thought that before the start of the season, but he's done very well in the opening games. We've got Antoine Semenyo in there as well, Enzo Fernandez, Alexander Isak. As I mentioned, I don't think he is going to start in game week 4 or even game week 5 for that matter, but he does still have over 450,000 transfers in this week. João Pedro as well, of course, on fantastic form. Isak's competition, Hugo Ekitike, with 363,000 transfers in, and of course Marcos Senesi with 350,000 as well. We will look a little bit into him in this video. In terms of transfers out, we've got a lot of injuries happening right now. We've got Cole Palmer with 750,000 transfers in. Again, he could actually potentially be back for game week 4, but a lot of people are kind of bringing in some more budget and taking him out. Mateus Cunha obviously suffered an injury in game week 3. William Saliba looks as though he has picked up a little bit of an injury as well and will be out for a couple of weeks. And of course Ryan Cherky looks like he is going to be out for a sustainable amount of time as well. Amongst that, we've also got Florian Wirtz with 230,000 transfers out, which is crazy considering they are playing against Burnley in game week 4. Ollie Watkins as well hasn't really lived up to much in the opening 3 game weeks, but nice fixtures coming up for him, so we can hope for something a bit more from him. As we move into the clean sheet odds for game week 4, is Arsenal at the top, again up against Nottingham Forest, who will now be under Ange Postecoglou. So an interesting one for Arsenal assets. They do have a couple of difficult fixtures. They've got Nottingham Forest at home this week, then Manchester City in game week 5, and it is really game week 7 where you would want to start bringing some of those guys in. But the Nottingham Forest fixture doesn't actually look that bad considering it is going to be Ange, a brand new manager in this weekend, and he is going to have to implement a whole new system. And again, I think for Arsenal, I think for Arsenal defenders it's not going to be as good, but for Arsenal attackers it could be really, really nice. Ange trying to opt a high line into a Nottingham Forest defence that is generally just really, really slow. Liverpool in there as well with 47% chance of a clean sheet against Burnley. No real surprises there. You've also got Palace, Newcastle and Fulham with pretty decent odds. So that is something to consider if you are going to be free hitting this week, which is a very popular move. Those are some of the defences that you are going to want to target. If you do still own Nottingham Forest players, previous to hitting my wildcard, I did have the double up of Milinkovic and Nico Williams. I would be looking to bench them or potentially sell them this week. They have a very, very low chance of keeping a clean sheet against Arsenal, and of course with the new manager we have no real idea of how they are going to perform over the next couple of matches. In terms of the best defensive fixtures then, we have Wolves, Aston Villa, Leeds, Bournemouth, and then we go into some more expensive teams with Man City, Newcastle and Spurs. Now this is all based on Fantasy Football Hub's ranking. I think in general it's a little bit harder, to kind of go for a lot of these defences. Wolves don't really have any prominent defender in the game. The same with Aston Villa. I think Leeds, you've got a really good opportunity to go for, a 4 million defender there. A lot of people do have Esteve from Burnley, but, you can always go for someone like Joe Rodon, who we'll look at in just a little minute, or Goodmanson from Leeds if his flag has been taken off him in the game. I'm not too sure about his injury, but some really nice fixtures for Leeds in the upcoming games, and I think just having a backup defender at 4 million could be a really nice option. Bournemouth in there as well. Obviously last year had some really nice options. This year I don't really think there's so much, but Petrovic in goals at 4.5 million is probably going to be your best option as a 4.5 million goalkeeper. You've also got Man City, Newcastle and Spurs in there as well. Man City, obviously the likes of Aït-Nouri, looking like a really, really nice pick. Newcastle have no real obvious players to pick in defence yet, other than maybe Nick Pope in goals, who we did speak about in our wildcard video last week. And we've also got Spurs in there as well, who do have still a really, really nice run of games. You've also got the likes of Pedro Porro in there, who's very, very popular. Van de Ven is a really popular one in there as well. And I think Vicario was quite decently owned in goals as well. So there are 3 players from Spurs that you could potentially look at. Again, fantastic fixtures in the upcoming games, and definitely could be a nice one to go for. Moving into some more of those defenders, I obviously mentioned the Bournemouth defence. You do have Marcos Senesi for Defcons, absolutely killing it right now. He's averaging 14 Defcons per 90, and he has picked up defensive contribution points in all 3 games so far. So he's going to be a fantastic one, and of course up there as well for Bournemouth for best defences, sitting as the 4th best defensive fixture over the next 6 game weeks. You've also got Tarkowski and Van den Berg, the other 2 players who have picked up Defcons in the last or in all 3 games so far. You've got Virgil van Dijk in there as well, Lacroix, 2 players that we did speak about for Defcons previous to the start of the season, both absolutely killing it as well, picking up Defcon points in 2 of the 3 opening games and averaging a really healthy number above that 10 threshold. Again, another 4 million defender in there is the Burnley defender in Ekdal. Now he's averaging 10.6 defensive contributions per game and is looking like a little bit better of a pick than Esteve. He's picked up Defcons in 2 of the opening 3 games, and if you are looking for a 4 million defender that isn't going to be a Leeds player, who I do think is going to be probably the best over the next few, but if you do want another Burnley player, I think Ekdal is going to be the best choice. But as you can see, speaking of Leeds, if you look over to 16th place, we have Joe Rodon, who I do think is the best Leeds defender available at only 4 million as well, with 9.33 Defcons per 90, and he's picked up the points in 1 of the opening 3 matches. Moving over to the attacking stats from the defenders, and Ricardo Calafiore is absolutely killing it in the opening 3 games. He's the highest shots by quite a margin, with 7 shots taken in the first 3, and he has the highest expected goal involvement as well with 1.2. Again, kind of spoke a little bit on the Arsenal games. I think game week 7 is the time to bring those guys in, but I don't actually mind if you maybe are on a wild card this week, maybe starting with 1 or 2 Arsenal players, because the Forest fixture could be nice this week, and then it's really just Man City that you have to worry about next week, where you could potentially stick them on the bench if you really wanted to. But again, not a lot of stats to go off of in the opening 3 matches, so you do have to kind of take these with a pinch of salt. Urian Timber in there as well, his Arsenal teammate, doing really well as well. And again, Palace with a really nice fixture against Sunderland. Daniel Munoz, absolutely fantastic as he always is. And of course, Max Lacroix in there was also in there for Defcons and has picked up 0.6 expected goal involvements in the opening 3 games. So 2 really, really nice players from Palace if you did want to pick up a defender from there. And on Spurs as well, again another team with nice defensive fixtures coming up. We're also seeing Pedro Porro up there with shots from defenders and at 7th with 4, and Mickey van de Ven in at 8th for expected goal involvements as well with 0.6. Having now covered the defence, we can move into the midfield, and looking at DEFCONs again, obviously midfielders do have the extra recoveries, and we're looking at the top 10 basically with total CBITR, basically how many defensive contributions they have made, and then you can see their defensive contributions over on the right hand side per 90 minutes. Now Caicedo is the obvious choice here. Obviously midfielders need to pick up 12 as the threshold, someone who has been picking up pretty consistent points. He's picked up DEFCON points in 2 of the 3 opening matches, but Bruno Fernandes is also killing it. In the deeper role, he's, not really been affected, in FPL terms. He's picking up DEFCONs really nicely, and of course, attacking returns as well, with Man U having picked up 2 penalties in the opening 3 games. But he's also picked up DEFCONs in 2 of the opening 3, and he is looking really, really nice with 13.67 per 90. Someone that's been really disappointing is Elliot Anderson with 33 total DEFCONs. Which you would really expect him to have picked up points there, but it literally means he's picked up 11 in all 3 matches and just missed out on the points by 1 in every single game. So very annoying for him, but definitely wouldn't be looking to sell. I think, when in Ange's system, the pressing is really going to help him, and I could see his DEFCONs, at least continuing or doing a little bit better under Postecoglou, and at only 5.5 million, I don't think there's any rush to try and get rid of him. Attacking wise as well, he does look really, really nice as well. So if you do own Elliot Anderson, I would definitely be looking to keep him as long as possible. Now, before we look at the attacking stats for midfielders, we are going to dive a little bit into how the teams are looking for this week. So in terms of goal scoring, Liverpool are expected to score the most goals at 2.44, obviously up against Burnley, and Crystal Palace in there again. So if you are going to be free hitting this week, I think Triple Palace is looking pretty obvious, and Triple Liverpool. Really, really nice teams for this week with good clean sheet odds and good goal odds. Man City in there as well up against Man United, still expected to score 2.23 goals. If you do on Erling Haaland, definitely worth a consideration, at least for captaincy. Newcastle in there too, again another team with nice defensive fixtures coming up, nice clean sheet odds for this week and nice goal odds. So this week could potentially be the week to bring in any Newcastle players you're interested in. Arsenal are up there as always as well, and again up against Nottingham Forest, who are sitting in 20th. So maybe if you're a Chris Wood owner or maybe Morgan Gibbs-White, this is the week to stick them on the bench, because it's not looking like they're going to score too many goals. Now, looking at the best attacking fixtures, we've got a lot of the same teams as the defensive fixtures, no real surprise there, but Wolves again are right up there with great attacking fixtures. Newcastle this week, which isn't too great, but after that, you're looking at Leeds at home in a couple of weeks' time, Sunderland and Burnley as well. So a really good opportunity for Wolves attackers. None have really stood out, other than obviously Strand Larsen, who was spoken about a little bit previous to game week 1, but no one really looking great from Wolves. So if you're not going to go for Strand Larsen, I'm not sure any are really going to be worth your time. For Bournemouth though, it is a little bit different. We do still have a lot of decent options. Semenyo is going to be the obvious one, has lit up massively in the opening 3 game weeks, and the Bournemouth fixtures aren't slowing down all the way up to game week 9. They do have pretty decent fixtures, attacking wise in there as well. Leeds in there again, wouldn't really be looking at any Leeds attackers, so I wouldn't worry too much. In terms of Aston Villa, obviously Morgan Rogers, Ollie Watkins, very, very popular picks in the opening games, which have now been sold off quite a bit. I definitely would be looking to keep at least one, mainly Ollie Watkins, because he does look like he's going to be the penalty taker, and at the end of the day, it's only been 3 game weeks. You really need to give players a couple more game weeks than that before deciding if they are going to be a sell. And with Ollie Watkins' games, Everton, Sunderland, Burnley, in the next 4, definitely would be looking to give him another chance, at least the Sunderland game. But then if he doesn't do anything in game week 4 and 5, you really don't want to be selling him before Burnley at home either. So I would look towards maybe game week 8 at selling Ollie Watkins. I think if you picked him off the start, you do just kind of have to hold that and hope he does, quite well over the next couple, which I would expect him to do. A couple attacking signings for Aston Villa on deadline day hopefully brings the creativity back into the team, and is going to benefit him quite a bit. So looking at the stats then for our midfielders, and if you look at the expected goal involvements, we do have Bruno Fernandes topping the list. Now you've got to consider that he has had 2 penalties, which is going to massively boost that number. But again, Bruno's right up there for shots, he's right up there for expected goal involvements, and he's right up there for defensive contributions. So a really nice, probably a season hold for Bruno Fernandes, at 9 million if you can afford it. Obviously it is a little bit expensive, but he's looking like a fantastic player. He's going to get 90 minutes all the time as well, and he's really just a stable pick that you can play in every single match. If you do own him, I wouldn't be benching him for Manchester City, because I would be expecting him to pick up DEFCONs, and of course he can get a penalty at any moment as well. So if you do own Bruno, I think he's probably going to be a season hold. If you don't own Bruno, he's probably one to consider getting in if you do have some spare budget left over. Obviously mentioned Semenyo as well. Really nice upcoming fixtures for Bournemouth. He is the shots, he's the guy that takes a ton of shots. He was well ahead for shots in midfielders last season, and he's once again looking to do that this season with 10 shots in the opening 3 games. Also got a 2.0 expected goal involvement as well. And considering he doesn't have the penalties, it's obviously a fantastic score for the opening 3 games. So he would probably be the first midfielder, the first midfielder name on a wildcard for me, and definitely a priority transfer if you don't have him already. And then looking on to the attackers, the forwards, we do have Erling Haaland at the top, and again, absolutely cruising in the opening 3 games. 14 shots and 4.2 expected goal involvements. Massively leading the pack, way ahead of anyone else, and just a fantastic option at 14 million, and he's definitely been the better pick over Mohamed Salah in the opening 3 games. Again, ideally, I think you would like Haaland and Salah, but it's just going to be so hard, to try and fit in a good team. I think if Liverpool didn't have Burnley this week, I would definitely have Erling Haaland on a wild card, is what I'm going to say. But there's no doubt about how good Erling Haaland has been in the opening 3, and I can't see that slowing down at all. Obviously, City have made a lot of new signings, a lot of creative signings as well, which is going to really benefit him over the course of the season. Couple of other decent ones to keep an eye on in there, of course, Evan Nilsson with 8 shots. Again, Bournemouth have some really nice fixtures if you don't want to go for Semenyo in midfield. I don't see why he wouldn't, but he is always an alternative option. And again, we've got Ollie Watkins in there as well. Now, the stats are backing him. He's got 1.3 expected goal involvements, which is 9th among forwards, and he's also taken 8 shots as well. So I think it's just a matter of time before he does well. Unfortunate not to have picked up a return so far. Obviously expected to pick up at least 1 so far, so I think over the next few, especially with the nice fixtures that Aston Villa have, Ollie Watkins is going to be someone that you would regret selling if you do it this week. Obviously a few players that we would expect to be in there as well. João Pedro, 8 shots and 1.5 expected goal involvements. Hugo Ekitike, another one as well, with 1.4 expected goal involvement. Not up there with the shots, however, and of course over the next few weeks he is going to be someone whose minutes I would expect to see reduced with Alexander Isak coming in, but I don't think that is going to be for a few weeks. And again, if you are going to be free hitting in game week 6 and you do own him, I think you can keep him for the Burnley game. They've got Everton next week as well, and then I think game week 7 could be the time to move him on to potentially someone like a Victor Gyökeres from Arsenal when their fixtures get a little bit nicer, or if you've got the money in the bank, potentially someone like Erling Haaland could be another option, or if you keep 2 million left over, you could just move straight to Alexander Isak. And then finally, before we finish up, we have the captaincy. Now, we've got the live captaincy poll, which hasn't been out for too long yet. We only have 90 votes on it, but Mohamed Salah is the obvious choice for this week. He is the highest for predicted points as well, 8.2. 1 above Haaland's 7.2. He's got the highest expected minutes. Not that really means much considering Haaland and Mateta are on 88 and 86. Haaland is expected to score a lot higher than Mohamed Salah is, with 11% higher, 53% chance of Haaland picking up a goal. And as you can see by his form, he has been returning very, very nicely in the last couple of games, and the fact that it is a derby, I would expect him to do quite well. Something to note with Salah, they are playing against the worst defence in the league so far. Burnley have conceded the highest expected goals, but Salah has never actually scored against Burnley away, which is a stat seen on Twitter a couple of days ago. So that could be one for punters if you do want to go against Mohamed Salah. I do think he is, clearly the best option this week, but if you don't want to go against him, that is just something to keep in mind. With the captaincy poll, we did Salah, Haaland, and we just done a Palace player. Obviously Mateta is the one we have used for the graphic today, but there also is some really good other options, such as Munoz or Lacroix, just in case anyone wanted to go there with captaincy. But that is going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, and make sure to leave down in the comments if there's anything extra you'd like to see in these videos. Obviously this is a new series this season, so if there's anything I missed out or anything that you would like to see in upcoming videos, make sure to drop it in the comments section. So once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.